Hey everybody, today I figured I'd show off part of my collection that's, I guess, sort of a highlight of it, just because it's sort of rare, hard to come by, not particularly because it's any good, because really my experiences with it so far have been sort of and pretty limited at that, but it's my 3DO. This is one of the, there were several models of this made by different companies. I think Gold Star made one model. It was put out by the 3DO company, and they had other other companies just make their units for them. And right here is one of the Panasonic models. There are two by Panasonic. This one's the most common, and it's also apparently, from what I understand, the most reliable, functional, least likely to break on you. It's also the one which has the design I like the least, but whatever. It's sort of a crappy console, to be quite honest. They charged a lot of money for it initially. I think, I forgot how much money it was. You can probably look that up pretty easy, but it was almost something like 600, 700 bucks for this initially, and I got it for 30 on eBay, which is a really good deal apparently, because these tend to go for a lot more. Not really a huge amount more, but if you pay less than twice that, it's a good deal. You know, it seemed to be about 80 bucks from what I've seen. PriceCharting.com lists it somewhere around there, I think. But yeah, it's a disc-based console. I believe it was the first disc-based console, standalone disc console, on the market. This particular one is missing the faceplate here. That might be one of the reasons I got it so cheap. It also didn't come with any controllers, games, or cables for it. But luckily it has a power cord connected right to it. It would be unlucky if the power cord broke, but that could be something that's easy to fix, actually. I don't know. And also, as far as the AV adapter, I think, the AV adapter, you can use an NES one. It's perfectly compatible. It works just fine with it, which is a plus, because I also use this for my my Model 1 Genesis, and, well, my NES. I'm sure it's not the best picture quality for it. It also has, these yellow, red, white output things, and an S-Video output, RF output and S-Video. So, yeah, I mean, it's compatible with several different ways of getting it up and running, which is a plus. Now, as for the controls I have for it, the controllers, I'm just going to put the console right over there. That would be the, well, these are off-brand ones. I'm pretty sure they're after the 3DO. They could be after the 3DO was canceled. I don't know. Really don't know anything about this company, Nakitech. But it's a nice controller. I mean, it fits well in your hand. Feels like it's made out of cheap plastic, but you know, the buttons work. You know, the A button doesn't really click in as much as, like, B, C, A doesn't. You just, it looks like it's a turbo controller too. I've never really used those, but they switch up and down. The D-pad's raised up a little bit. I'm not really too comfortable with that, but, you know, it works. And you might notice here, it's actually pretty similar to a combination of a Super Nintendo controller with the buttons here and a standard Genesis controller with the 3 buttons on the face. And it's nice. It's a nice controller. I actually have 2 of these. They cost me almost as much as the console did, which isn't much, but got 2 in working condition. And you'll notice on the console itself, it only has 1 controller port. That's because the second controller port is on the thing. You actually have to cover it up. Well, you don't have to, but I like keeping those somewhere so I don't lose them. I don't know where my other controller is. Somewhere. Doesn't really matter. But you get the basic idea. It is not compatible with Genesis controllers. I have looked that up online, you know, because it has the same shape as a Genesis controller, but apparently that could damage the controller or even the system itself. So if you do that, you're screwed. Now, you can apparently connect up to like 8 of these together. You know, don't know what any games that would require that, but... Oh, and I just actually noticed this. I've never noticed this before. Right there on the back is a switch. It says 5-button or 6-button. I don't really know what the hell difference that would make, but... Yeah, and now for the most important part of the 3DO. My thumb's stuck in there. The games. Now, I don't have many games. I have 3 games. Alone in the Dark, which is... I think it's up there on my shelf somewhere. And since I only have 3, I don't really have a place for any of them. And they're all loose. I have Way of the Warrior, which is a crappy, horrendous Mortal Kombat ripoff. Right there. The soundtrack is by Rob Zombie. Because that worked so well for later games, such as Twisted Metal 4. Yeah, right? Now, it's terrible. Just look it up online. It's hilariously bad. And the other one, I actually just got this on the mail like an hour ago and just tested it out. Shadow, The War of Succession. This game is the worst thing I've ever played in my life. I knew that going into it, but it's not as hilariously bad as I thought it would be. Yeah, it's really bad across the board. I'm gonna have to like figure out how to get this hooked up to my HD TV and record some footage from that with my capture card, because this deserves to be seen. But you can look it up on YouTube. There are a few reviews of it. A lot of gameplay videos. Double stacking the discs in here until I can find a spare case. Yeah, Alone in the Dark. I haven't really played it much, but I mean, I hear it's really good. The controls suck and it's aged horribly, but you know, I'll try to put some time into it. There are some other games on it that I want. It apparently doesn't have region lock, and it also doesn't have any lockout chips for like pirated games, so that makes it easy for me to get a decent library of games, even if I have to kind of cheat to do it. And there's one Japanese exclusive JRPG called Lucian's Quest. Well, not Japanese exclusive, 3DO exclusive. Copies of it go for a couple $100, and I really want it. And I'm not going to spend a couple $100 on it. So, I mean, if I ever play it, I want to get it someday, but I can't put down the money for it now. But yeah, now there's sort of me showing off my 3DO. I mean, would I recommend people buy one of these? No. There are a handful of good games on here, but so many of them are available on other consoles. Street Fighter 2 Turbo, you can get that on a bunch of other consoles. Road Rash, you get that on a bunch of other consoles. Alone in the Dark, PC version of that exists. You can probably download it off of Steam or Good Old Games. A lot of really bad full-motion video games. D, there's a port of D on this. You can get that on Sega Saturn for like $15, $20. You can get it on PlayStation for about $30. There was supposed to be a version there was supposed to be a sequel to that released for the second 3DO, which never happened because nobody bought a 3DO. Plumbers don't wear ties, right? Yeah, right. Totally awesome console, right? I mean, shit, this is fucking amazing. Oh yeah, totally. Get one of these. It blows the Super Nintendo out of the water. Jesus Christ, this thing's terrible. I mean, it's crap hardware. It's really bad, like, early CD technology. Load times are horrendous. The graphics aren't really as impressive as, like, the Sega Saturn or PlayStation 1, because it was technically, I think, a previous generation console to those. I mean, it's not really even as good as, like, the Sega CD. But, you know, hey, if you can get one for $30 like I did, then, yeah, grab it. Just don't expect it to be very good. You know, or if you're like me and you just if you're a bad games enthusiast like I am, then totally get the 3DO. Oh God, totally. Yeah, you can't do much better for bad games than the 3DO, unless you want to shell out however much money a CDI costs. Oh God, 3DO, what are we gonna do with you? All right, put you on a shelf and pretend you don't exist. Have a good one.